An army of undead has emerged in the dark forest. Though their defensive capabilities are ordinary, they possess the attribute of immortality, adding a new variable to the great battle of Middle-earth. Welcome to continue watching episode 4 of The Rings of Power Season 2. Galadriel prepares to journey to a region to investigate Sauron's situation. Accompanying her are Prince Elrond and 4 of the most elite elven warriors. The group traverses mountains and waters, crossing treacherous peaks until their path is blocked by a bottomless chasm. Looking at the damaged bridge, it's clear this destruction was not caused by human force. Taking a detour would cost 2 additional weeks, but there's another option: cutting through the dark forest could save half the time. Suddenly, Galadriel's ring sends a warning that the dark forest conceals great danger. However, Elrond, the mission leader, believes time is of the essence and they must risk the crossing despite the danger. Before departing, he specifically cautions Galadriel not to rely too heavily on the elven ring, to which she retorts that she simply doesn't want to see anyone lose their life. The group soon enters the dark forest. Upon reaching an ancient burial ground, they see numerous tombs containing ancient kings. One of the elves senses flickering lights in the darkness and immediately draws his dagger, while Elrond discovers several corpses nearby, messengers from Lindon. It appears that Master Craftsman Celebrimbor never received the High King's warning. As they discuss the cause of the messengers' deaths, an elf is suddenly caught by chains and swiftly dragged away. Despite Galadriel's full effort, she couldn't prevent the tragedy. Suddenly, the surrounding ground begins to shift as ancient corpses rise from the earth. Galadriel recognizes them as ancient Barrow-wights. Ordinary weapons can only shatter their bodies, which reform moments later. As the group finds themselves in dire straits, Elrond thinks of a solution. Just as he enters an ancient tomb, Galadriel is entangled by a wraith, but Elrond emerges with a timely strike, easily destroying the spirit. It turns out only weapons used by the deceased in life can make these wraiths rest permanently. However, the group cannot understand why these corpses, dormant for thousands of years, have suddenly awakened. Having lost a companion, Elrond feels guilty. As Galadriel prepares to offer words of comfort, her ring sends another warning: this mission will bring them to the brink of death 9 times. Yet Elrond chides Galadriel not to rely too heavily on the ring's power. Just then, a companion reports hearing dense drumbeats ahead. Upon closer inspection, they discover a large contingent of orcs traversing the forest, heading directly toward their destination, Eregion. Could the orcs be preparing to wage war against the elves? Elrond believes they must report this news to the High King. Suddenly, movement behind them reveals several orcs pursuing a black horse, and a stray arrow strikes an elven warrior. The group realizes the orcs will eventually discover their presence. Galadriel places her hand on the wounded warrior and sees the wound heal itself, an unexpected power of the ring. She removes it and gives it to Elrond before revealing herself to the orcs. With a few swift moves, she mounts the black horse and, using her superb combat skills, throws the orc squad into chaos. Galadriel intends to draw their attention to allow Elrond and the others to escape, but being outnumbered, she is soon captured by Adar. Meanwhile, residents of a border town search for the missing Theo. Upon finding an abandoned iron axe, the dark elf Arondir falls into contemplation. Ordinary thieves wouldn't leave behind weapons more valuable than gold. Following the trail, Arondir discovers a mutilated corpse. The villagers' first reaction is that Theo has been taken by orcs, as only they feed on humans. Irian suddenly mentions a place. While searching for her fiancé, she passed through a polluted forest where the orc army might be stationed. This raises Arondir's suspicions. How could an ordinary person traverse a forest full of orcs? He had already noticed a scar on Irian's neck, which he firmly believes to be a slave mark of the orcs, though it had been forcibly burned away. Without further argument, Arondir binds Irian and makes her lead the way to the orc camp. Soon, the 3 arrive at the ancient forest Irian mentioned. Large swaths of trees have been trampled beyond recognition by the orcs, leaving muddy paths in their wake. Isildur carelessly steps into a swamp, and as Arondir prepares to save him, he too is dragged into the mire by an enormous force. Irian, stunned, waits for a long while with no response before turning to flee. Suddenly, a branch pierces the swamp, and a long monster emerges. As it prepares to attack Irian, a sword suddenly pierces its belly, and Arondir and Isildur roll out. Apparently, they had been swallowed whole by the monster in the swamp. After this incident, Arondir realizes that Irian hasn't actually sided with the orcs, or she wouldn't have risked her life to save them earlier. Isildur removes her shackles and expresses his desire to care for her for life. Fortunately, she remains sensible, picking up an iron sword and telling Isildur not to be impulsive. Her identity as a slave would never be accepted by others. At this moment, Arondir suddenly senses something amiss and shouts for Irian to drop the sword. Before she can react, she's swept away by a giant tree branch. As Isildur is about to meet the same fate, Arendar suddenly utters an elvish phrase, and the tall ant immediately halts. It turns out this species is a natural ally of the elves, and they only attacked because they smelled metal. Another ant emerges. These two are the oldest beings in this forest and have witnessed orcs wielding iron tools to trample the trees, harboring great resentment. Arendar empathizes and vows to drive the orcs from this land by any means. The two ants' expressions soften, and they slowly open their branches to reveal several humans trapped inside, including Theo, whom Arendar had been searching for. Surprisingly, Irian's fiancé is also among those rescued. Watching the ants depart, Arendar bids farewell to the group. He must deal with those malevolent orcs. Meanwhile, Istari, searching for power, anxiously calls out his companion's name, as his magic had recently gone out of control and blown away two poor Harfoots. After searching without finding his companions, he unexpectedly encounters a black goat that, seeming to possess consciousness, leads Istari to a bearded man. As he prepares to inquire, he realizes the terrain resembles the Nun lands he seeks. Suddenly, the map in his hand floats into the air, and Istari follows it to a large tree. Seeing the branches, he recalls the staff from his dreams, but as he reaches to pluck one, the tree begins to writhe. The more Istari struggles, the deeper he's drawn in until he's completely absorbed into the tree. Not far away, Nori has just regained consciousness. He quickly wakes his companion, wanting to find Istari as soon as possible, when they unexpectedly encounter a strangely dressed man. Noting his similar height, Nori feels an inexplicable kinship. After inquiry, they learn he's from the nearby Stonefolk tribe. His companion decides to seek refuge with their tribe first, but the man shows hesitation, repeatedly cautioning them about the chief before turning and walking into a huge stone mortar. Soon, they arrive at the Stonefolk's home hidden in a mountain valley. Seeing many halflings carefully tending to their homestead, Nori suddenly feels homesick. At this moment, the chief appears imposingly, demanding to know why the man brought outsiders. Nori tells the truth. Due to being pursued by masked men, he and his companion became separated. Upon learning that the lost companion can use magic, the chief shows terror. The only magic user here is the evil black wizard, and immediately orders Nori and the others to be bound. Not far away, inside a tall building, the black wizard mentioned by the chief is inquiring about Istari's whereabouts. The masked man's voice trembles. He hadn't expected the old man to use such powerful magic. The black wizard waves his hand, telling his subordinate to focus on finding the two Harfoots. He'll handle Istari personally. What the black wizard doesn't know is that Istari has already been consumed by an unknown ancient tree. The bearded man mutters some words and pulls Istari out. The latter, shocked, asks who he really is. The bearded man chuckles, saying it's been a long time since anyone called his name. He was born before the mountains and rivers took shape. Istari dismisses the bearded man's boast and directly states his desire to pluck a branch from the ancient tree to use as a staff. The bearded man doesn't respond directly, instead telling him to ask the ancient tree himself. Then, opening his mouth wide, the flames in the fireplace leap up, and an adorable sheep appears out of thin air. Recalling his previous experience, Istari realizes this bearded man can simultaneously control air, trees, and fire magic, clearly an unparalleled master. He quickly rises to request the man teach him to master the staff. The bearded man mysteriously states that the staff was originally part of the wizard. You just need to prove yourself worthy of it. Istari suddenly understands this place is his destination, the Nun lands, and what he's been seeking isn't a staff, but the bearded man before him. Just then, two horseback riders appear outside the window. Istari recognizes them as the masked men pursuing him. The bearded man reveals a secret. Years ago, another Istari came to learn magic from him. That person is the black wizard who now controls most of the Nun lands but still craves more. Istari immediately realizes, could he be seeking an alliance with Sauron from Middle-earth? The bearded man nods, saying that when these two conspire together, Middle-earth will surely be devastated. Istari doesn't understand. With such power, why doesn't the bearded man intervene? The bearded man smiles, saying he's a preacher, not a warrior. Great deeds must be accomplished by the destined one. Istari quickly understands but asks, should he face Sauron or the Black Wizard? The bearded man solemnly states that he must face them both. This concludes the content of Episode 4 of The Rings of Power Season 2. Please continue to follow for more updates. See you next time.